Class is now in session. I'm Professor Hockey, and today we'll be discussing the game between the Sharks and the Stars, in which the Stars managed to win 4-3 in regulation. This was also the sixth time in the past 7 games that the Sharks' final score has been 4-3. They've won 3 of those, but now they have lost 3 of those as well. This is a sign that the Sharks are giving up a few too many chances, giving up at least 3 goals in each of the past 7 games, including the one game that wasn't a 4-3 score. But it's also a decent sign that the Sharks have also been scoring at least 3 goals in 6 of the past 7 games, this time excluding that 4-1 loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets. For the Stars, it was Shore with 2 goals, his 4th and 5th of the season. He scored the first and last goal of this game. Then Tyler Seguin, as well as Smith. For the Sharks, Timo Meier got his 12th of the year, followed by Pavelski on a pretty hilarious tipping play. This is why they call him one of the best. He's not even on his feet. He's down on one knee, and he still manages to redirect this Burns shot to get his 7th goal of the year, which goes along with his 0 assists, which is certainly an interesting stat to keep track of where he'll get his first assist before, at what level of goals will he get that first assist. The third goal was also pretty funny for the Sharks, although in a bit of a different manner. Evander Kane sort of winded up for a one-timer, and Khudobin was expecting it so much that he slides across, definitely puts in a lot of effort to get across, which wasn't really a misplay by Khudobin, but Kane heals the shot. And so it ends up just trickling in the snail's pace, or at least it seemed like one at the high speed that hockey is normally played at. And the Sharks got the game-tying goal. So a bit of luck there, but, to go off with the Stars' 4th goal was a bit lucky, certainly by Shore hitting off Karlsson, going straight to him. The Sharks also hit a couple of posts, and so it wasn't necessarily a lucky game for the Sharks. In fact, you could probably make the argument it was a bit of an unlucky game for the Sharks, but still, a bit of a lucky goal for Kane. First thing I'd like to talk about is the lines. Now, DeBoer did go back to the lines that started the Minnesota Wild game, so this entailed the Thornton, Goodrow, Sorensen third line that was very, very strong for the Sharks in the first couple of periods of the Wild game. And then, of course, Kane, Pavelski, Donskoy, Labanc, Couture, and Meier. Labanc did get a bit more chemistry with Couture and Meier, had a very nice assist on the Timo Meier goal. But as the game went on, when it didn't seem like the things were clicking, or at least DeBoer felt like they weren't clicking, he ended up putting Thornton with Kane and Pavelski, and then reuniting Suomela, Donskoy, and Sorensen. Now, of course, when that didn't work, DeBoer once again changed the lines, this time settling, and this is how the lines ended basically for the rest of the game, although, this was somewhat late in the third period, and so a lot of the time they just sent on their best offensive players, but technically the lines finished as Thornton, Pavelski, Sorensen, as well as a third line of Kane, Suomela, Donskoy, which was the line that was on the ice for the Sharks' game-tying goal that made it 3-3. Hertl is definitely somewhat lacking in the line. Yes, they did score 3 goals tonight. They scored 4 goals in the previous night, but I think with the depth scoring that they are getting a bit here, once Hertl gets back into the lineup, he's missed now the past couple of games. They're playing again tomorrow, so I don't know if he'll be back for that one. Maybe he'll just wait until the Sharks come back home. But once he's re-injected into the lineup, I think this is going to be a very dangerous offensively Sharks lineup. Next, who I'd like to talk about is Timo Meier. He had a fantastic game. Obviously, he scored a goal, which put him back tied for the league leading goals at 12, I think. Then he also had a couple other chances, very, very similar to how he scored the goal, which was basically the cross ice pass where he rushes the net. I think he tried that a couple of other times on Khudobin, missed it both times. He also had some good chances on the power play. He really was all over the puck. He finds himself in very good positions to score. He only managed to finish 1 in this game, but with the amount of chances he got, it wouldn't have surprised me if he got 2, maybe even 3 in this game. He's continued to be one of the best forwards for the Sharks. I'd been arguing that Hertl has been, but now Hertl missed the past couple of games. Maybe Timo Meier has taken that mantle as the best Sharks forward on the team thus far this season. And of course, the 12 goals definitely gives him a good argument for that. Next is Braun and Vlasic. The Sharks struggled. There's definitely no secret that the Sharks struggled defensively this game. Multiple odd man rushes given up, besides the first 10 minutes of the first period in which the Dallas Stars were probably the better team, the Sharks controlled most of the play for the rest of this game. But the chances that the Stars did get were off the rush, sort of 3-on-2s, breakaways. I think they had like 3 massive giveaways coming out. So I highlight Braun and Vlasic here because I think this was a pairing that actually played particularly well. I think Braun and Vlasic had a pretty solid defensive game. No real major mistakes coming out from them. The same cannot be said about the 4 other defensemen on this team. But Braun and Vlasic, especially since I haven't really talked about them too much in my reviews, I thought I should highlight them for having a pretty solid game for themselves. Next is Burns and Karlsson, who are sort of on the flip side of this. Burns had a very fantastic offensive game. Definitely continues to put up the points that are necessary. His defensive game also wasn't too bad. He did have that one major mistake that was he fanned on his pass to Joakim Ryan early on and gave the Stars a good chance. They didn't actually convert on that. And so otherwise Burns was okay this game defensively. And his offensive game was still top-notch, and so Burns all around probably still had a really good game. Now, Erik Karlsson, here's someone who I want to talk about a bit. Of course, I talk about him a lot, but in this game in particular, in the first period actually in particular, he was all over the puck. He was creating so many chances. He just looked like a wizard with the puck. I've highlighted this in the past game, but I'll say it again. His skill ceiling as just a defenseman is just so insane. His ceiling is higher than any other defenseman in the entire league, and I don't even know if it's close, right? The consistent level, other defensemen do compete with him, but when it comes to the highest level of play, if you choose one defenseman who you want and you know they're going to be playing at their highest level, Erik Karlsson is the defenseman of choice, hands down for everybody. However, once you got past the first period, Karlsson again was trying to make these fantastic plays, but I felt like it came to a point where he was really just forcing the plays to go down. You know, so many times he would try and like make these really, really fancy passes that would just end up being giveaways. And this was something that we've seen Thornton do in the past, not the past this season, but you know, the past few years, where he tries to make so many beautiful no-look type of passes that at a point, the no-look, because you didn't see that there wasn't actually a player there. And so a lot of times Karlsson tried to force a pass through or force a play to happen. The pass was behind somebody, too far ahead of somebody, they weren't ready for it, and ended up with a chance the other way. So Karlsson does, I know he's good, and I know he's great, but you're not playing with 4 other Erik Karlssons on the ice. You do have to be mindful of what the rest of your teammates can do, and so Karlsson probably needs to calm down the play a bit. Also defensively, a couple major mistakes, still a couple bad giveaways. I don't blame him on the Devon Shore block that went straight to him, obviously, but I do blame him on the Tyler Seguin giveaway as well. Or I don't actually blame him for the Tyler Seguin. That was actually a Dylan's mistake. I think it was somebody. He made a misplay later on in the game. I mean, you could probably pick and choose. There were probably a couple, but Karlsson does need to clean that up a bit. But again, still a good sign, I'd say, as a building block going forward for Erik Karlsson, that he is making these great plays. I think once the Sharks, this was one of those games where I haven't really bought the whole adjustment period thing for Erik Karlsson this deep into the season. We're 16 games in. But I think once the rest of the team does get sort of used to the plays that he makes, the passes that he tries to pull off, it will start to end up with pucks in the back of the net and points for Karlsson. Finally, I'd like to talk about Martin Jones. This is Jones, I haven't really highlighted the past few games. He hasn't really been as one of the guys I've written. Most of the time he's been in like sort of an other section as just someone who played a solid game. And Jones did let in 4 goals tonight, and so from an outsider perspective, someone who didn't watch this game, they'll probably say, wow, 4 goals on, I think the Stars ended up with 20 or 21 shots or something like that. 4 goals on 20 or 21 shots. Terrible save percentage, terrible game for Martin Jones. But anyone who actually watched this game, as I said, past the first 10 minutes, the only Dallas Stars chances were really just odd man rushes or bad giveaways from the Sharks. There was no real sustained pressure. There was no real great chances for the Stars from, offensive zone plays. It was really just these odd man rushes, and Jones had to come up massive on so many of them. I'd like 2 or 3 breakaway saves, some great saves just in the transition play. Martin Jones was actually really good tonight. I think the only goal that the Stars did score that he'd like to have back was probably the Shore's first goal, which was a nice shot by Shore, but maybe you still want Jones to have it. But other than that, he didn't have much of a chance on Seguin because I believe it deflected off of Erik Karlsson's stick. Then he didn't have much of a chance on Smith, didn't have much of a chance on Shore's second goal. And otherwise, this was a game, as I said, the Sharks could have probably had more goals. Khudobin was great. Meyer didn't get to capitalize on as many as he would have liked. But the Stars, with the amount of chances they had, this could have ended up being like a 7-7 game. Jamie Benn's breakaway or Janmark's breakaway later on in the game. So many great chances, but so many great saves from Martin Jones. And you can't say that he didn't make the big saves here for the Sharks. They just had one too many defensive breakdowns that had ended up leading to the Stars being able to get these 4 goals and taking the 2 points. But the Sharks will try and regroup for tomorrow as they fly to St. Louis to play the Blues there. Class dismissed.